Joey Barton, a player from England, made a career out of chaos more than football. Known more for his temper than his talent, he was a ticking time bomb in every squad he joined, and he rarely disappointed. His most infamous meltdown came in 2012 while playing for QPR. After elbowing Carlos Tevez and getting sent off, Barton didn't walk, he detonated. He kneed Sergio Aguero in the back, tried to headbutt Vincent Kompany, and had to be dragged off the pitch. The ref lost control. Barton lost his mind. And that wasn't a rare moment. At Manchester City, he assaulted teammate Ousmane Dabo in training, punched him so badly he ended up in the hospital. Barton ended up in court, suspended, prison sentence. No remorse. Just another entry in a long file of disasters. Off the pitch, nightclub brawls, betting bans, actual jail time for assault. He once stubbed out a cigar in a youth player's eye at a Christmas party. And after retirement, he didn't exactly mellow out. Still fighting, still banned. Still Barton. He had the ability to be a solid Premier League midfielder, but the drama always came first.
Mauro Icardi didn't need red cards or two-footed tackles to become a football villain. He just needed a wedding ring. And not his own. The Argentine striker caused one of the biggest scandals in modern football when he started a relationship with Wanda Nara, the wife of his own teammate and close friend, Maxi Lopez. That alone would have earned him a permanent place on football's blacklist. But Icardi didn't stop there. He married her, tattooed Lopez's kids on his body, and posted about it like it was part of his highlight reel. Every photo felt like a fresh jab, every caption, pure gasoline on the fire. Maxi refused to shake his hand when they faced off, and the world watched it all unfold like a live telenovela. At Inter Milan, Icardi wore the captain's armband, and still found a way to beef with his own fans. After criticizing ultras in his autobiography, banners came down and threats went up. Instead of apologizing, he doubled down and got dropped. Even with his goal tally, Argentina didn't want the drama. He was left out of squad after squad, not because he wasn't good enough, but because no one wanted to deal with the circus that followed him everywhere. Pepe, a Portuguese defender best known for his time at Real Madrid, and for being one of the most feared players to ever step on a football pitch. Pepe wasn't just a defender, he was a full-blown chaos agent in a football kit. When you saw his name on the team sheet, you didn't just prepare for a battle, you prayed for your shins. At his best, he was a rock, fast, fearless, and sharp. But at his worst, he was like a pressure cooker with no lid. The man completely snapped in 2009 during a match against Getafe. And not in a bit of a scuffle way, he kicked a player twice while he was on the ground, slapped another, and screamed at the ref like he was ready to fight him too. Red card? Of course. 10-game ban? Also yes. Even La Liga had to stop and say, what did we just watch? This wasn't a one-time thing either. Pepe's red cards were regular, and his tackles often crossed into straight-up assault territory. Flying elbows, studs of challenges, and that signature blank stare like he was the one who'd been wronged. But here's the twist. He was also really, really good. Champions League titles, league wins, legendary battles. A defender you'd want on your team, as long as you weren't standing anywhere near him. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a player from Sweden, joined LA Galaxy in 2018 and immediately became one of the most controversial figures MLS has ever seen. He didn't come to be a part of the league, he came to take it over. From his first game, where he scored a 40-yard goal, he made it clear that this was going to be the Zlatan show. He called himself a lion surrounded by sheep. He mocked the league, its defenders, and even its biggest stars. When Carlos Vela was breaking scoring records, Zlatan brushed it off, saying he did more at a higher level with one leg. That kind of talk became normal. He wasn't here to be humble. And he backed it all up with goals, but it wasn't just the arrogance that made him a villain, it was the elbows, the stomps, the smirks after cheap shots. He once elbowed Real Salt Lake defender Nedum Onuaha during a match, then tried to shake his hand like nothing happened. When Onuaha refused, Zlatan didn't apologize, he smiled. He didn't hide who he was, and he didn't care what anyone thought. He finished his time in MLS with 52 goals in 56 games, but left behind more than stats. He stirred up rivalries, angered opponents, and made headlines almost every week. Fans loved him or hated him, there was no in-between. Gennaro Gattuso was a midfield enforcer who turned every match into a brawl. For AC Milan and Italy, he brought zero elegance but 100% aggression, and made a career out of pure chaos. He didn't care who he fouled, how hard, or when. Late tackles, scrapping with refs, and starting fights were just part of his game. One of his most famous moments? Headbutting Tottenham assistant Joe Jordan, a 59-year-old coach in glasses, right after a Champions League match. No provocation, no hesitation. Just walked up and slammed him. This wasn't out of character. Gattuso lived angry. On the pitch, he'd stomp, kick, scream, and throw hands if needed. Even in training, he once kicked Zlatan in the back. Most players wouldn't dare. Gattuso did it without thinking twice. Red cards were a regular part of the job. So were tunnel confrontations and explosive interviews. You never knew what would set him off, only that something would. And yet, somehow, he stayed on top. World Cup winner, Champions League winner, but always 1 second away from losing his mind.
Rafa Marquez, a player from Mexico, came to MLS with one of the most impressive resumes the league had ever seen. He played for Barcelona, captained the Mexican national team, and was expected to bring class and leadership to the New York Red Bulls when he arrived in 2010. Instead, he turned out to be one of the most toxic villains MLS has ever known. From the beginning, Marquez carried himself like he was above everyone else, teammates included. After one poor match, he publicly blamed his own defenders for the team's struggles, basically throwing them under the bus. That didn't go over well in the locker room or anywhere else for that matter. On the field, things got worse. Marquez was reckless and often looked disinterested when defending, unless he was going out of his way to commit a dirty foul. One of his most infamous moments came in the 2011 playoffs when he instigated a fight with the San Jose Earthquakes, threw the ball at an opponent, and got himself suspended for violent conduct. He also stomped on Shea Salinas during a match, leaving him with a broken collarbone. Another low point in a long list of cheap shots. He seemed angry, entitled, and completely unwilling to adapt to the league. Fans expected elegance. What they got was elbows, blame, and red cards. Roy Keane, a player from Ireland, built his legacy on ruthless tackles, cold revenge, and a zero-tolerance approach to anything that smelled like weakness. He wasn't just a tough midfielder. He was a football executioner with a captain's armband. The most notorious moment of his career came in 2001, when he finally got revenge on Alf Inge Haaland. Keane launched into a knee-high tackle with full force, leaving Haaland in a heap. In his autobiography, Keane admitted it wasn't mistimed. It was intentional. He said he waited years for the perfect moment, and when it came, he didn't hold back. "Take that, you c***," he reportedly said, standing over him. That tackle wasn't just violent, it was premeditated. But Keane didn't need a grudge to snap. He was constantly one late challenge away from disaster. If a teammate didn't meet his standards, he'd call them out publicly, or worse, in the dressing room. He once left the Ireland national team mid-World Cup after clashing with the manager over training conditions. Walked out and never looked back. They weren't just players, they were walking red cards, built for chaos. Some snapped in a moment, others made violence their whole brand. But now it's your turn. Who do you think was the most unhinged? Who do we miss? And be honest, would you want any of them on your team? Drop your picks in the comments, we read them all.